This is one of Greater Brisbane's worst affected suburbs. The people who live here had to wait more than a week after the floodwaters peaked for the clean-up to begin. And Douglas Gooding is working hard to make his home livable again. How are you going, Douglas?
Mentally, yeah. I've broken down a couple of times over it all. Just little things that's just tripped it off.
But the Goodna resident still has ambitious plans.
We're leaving that. We can still use that. That's all in operation.
But realistically, when do you think you can move back in here?
I'm hoping 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks.
Douglas Gooding and his neighbours have been through this before, when floodwaters destroyed the suburb in 2011. And when 730 visited these streets 6 months later, residents told us the recovery had barely started.
Most of us are sort of back, but we're not in houses and stuff. I mean, people over there, they're living under their house.
11 years later, that same Goodna resident, Damien Main, is preparing to say goodbye to his home. His insurance company insists the house be demolished.
They said they won't rebuild because it's a floodplain. They're not going to even fathom that.
How realistic is it to rebuild some of those houses?
Look, that's going to be an issue that we will work with councils, state will work with councils to understand what is viable, what is not viable, but that will take time.
The Queensland Premier has appointed Major General Jake Elwood to oversee Queensland's flood recovery. He's seen firsthand the challenge ahead for Goodna, but it's just one of hundreds of communities that are reeling from the crisis.
There are multiple tasks that need to be done over 22 local government areas. It is massive.
Everything that's come out of your place, is it?
It's a job that will require coordination between all three levels of government, as acknowledged by the Prime Minister, who visited flood-damaged parts of Brisbane today.
What always happens with disasters is along the way, once you're doing this, other needs come up, and so we'll hopefully that's one of the reasons I'm here, is to understand what those other needs are.
One of the most pressing needs is finding places for thousands of displaced people to live. Community groups are bracing themselves for a further squeeze on housing, and they were struggling even before the disaster.
It is, I know, very, very difficult. The biggest problem I think we have is where do we refer on?
Well, obviously there's going to be less housing for a longer period because they've got to rebuild what they've got and they've got to house the people whilst they're rebuilding and fixing up the homes and some of these homes won't be able to be rebuilt.
With his house due for demolition, Damien Main is struggling to work out his next move. This is what his Goodna home looked like as the waters were receding 8 days ago. And since the floods, he and his wife have been staying with their extended family.
I know, look, I've got lovely people looking after us. I don't deny any of that. But like we've all said, we need our own space. My wife being disabled makes it 10 times harder.
How seriously do you worry about where you're going to live in the future?
Pretty serious. Me and my wife just fight all the time over where we're going to go. But at the moment, with houses going like this, we're out of the range.
Major General Elwood says South East Queensland is barely into the recovery stage, and it's too early to assess the size of the pending housing crisis.
Over time, when we understand which houses will be tenable, which will not be tenable, and therefore will need to be repaired or whatever, then I think we'll get a better understanding of the scale.
It is going to be a big problem, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Look, there will be a myriad of issues.
Douglas Gooding is determined to solve his own housing problem. Last week, 730 caught up with him and his mother while they were staying at a soccer club building in a neighbouring suburb. He's still sleeping there, but he's itching to move back to Goodna with his mum, stepdad and brother.
Does a part of you feel like,
we should move out of a flood zone since we've been hit twice in just
No.
over 10 years?
No, because I like the area. I know I have got family and friends around here. I've got the moral support of the soccer club. They've helped me out big time through this, so yeah.
Again, they're surrounded by community. The other thing I noticed was that there were so many around supporting, and I think that to me is what Australia's about.
Douglas Gooding accepts he will need government support, on top of what he hopes is a payout from house insurance. But he's determined to make it work.
We want to stay here. Mum wants to stay here. She said it's her home. And we've been here 34 years, since 88, and this is our home.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.